Okay, let's talk a little bit about Punnett Squares and the worksheet that you were doing yesterday. Um, Again, all you had to do was look at the PowerPoint to answer these questions and this question. Okay, with these Punnett Squares, it says, let me see if I can highlight. It says blue skin. Well, I really don't want to highlight all that. Blue skin is dominant, okay, to purple skin. So blue skin is going to be a dominant B. Purple skin is going to be a recessive B. When you have a Punnett square, you have one parent's alleles across the top, you have one parent's alleles down the left side. If you look, you take this allele, and this will be what goes in this box. So I've already got one B. So I'm going to put the other one. You take this one and this one, and it goes here. Okay, then this one and this one goes here. So you'd have dominant B, this one and this one, dominant B, dominant B. Each one of these boxes is like 25%. It's like you got 4 quarters. I'm not sure. I'm having to do this with my keyboard, so I'm not real sure I can write 25 right here, little enough that we can see it. But each one of these boxes is going to be 25%. Then you answer these questions. So what are the phenotype or the possible genotype from this cross? All right, if we look, we only have one genotype because genotypes are the letters that make up the trait. So it would be dominant B, dominant B. What are the possible phenotypes? Phenotypes is what it looks like. So it's only going to be blue because with every box we have a dominant B, and if we have a dominant B, we know that that's going to be blue. What percentage will be purple? That's going to be 0%. What percent will be blue? That would be 100%. And what percent would be heterozygous? To be heterozygous, you have to have a dominant and a recessive. So that is 0. All right, I'm going to see if I can move this up and my writing will stay there. Oh, hot dog. Okay, let's look at this one. This one is different because here we have 2 dominant alleles. We have a dominant and a recessive. I always put the dominant first just because when we were talking about it, recessive is hidden. It's really not wrong to do it either way, but it just helps my head in my mind when I'm looking at it to know that dominant is first, so it's going to be that dominant color. All right, so if we do this cross, again, we have blue skin is dominant and purple skin is recessive. So look here and here, we have dominant B. Woo, my writing is not so hot. And recessive B. Dominant B and recessive B. dominant B, recessive B. Here we have dominant and dominant. Dominant B, dominant B. This square would be dominant B and dominant B. So our results are a wee bit different this time. Again, each one of these boxes is 25%. So if we're looking, what are the possible genotypes? This time we would do dominant B, recessive B. We would do dominant B, dominant B. Phenotypes. Now, remember, dominant B is blue. So each box has at least one dominant B. So all of our, whatever it is, whatever this organism is going to be blue. Okay. What percentage would be purple? Again, that's going to be 0. What percent would be blue? That will be 100%. What percent would be heterozygous? All right, if we think about it, heterozygous again means a dominant and a recessive. So we have 1, 2. So that's going to be 50%. Okay, let's look at the next one. Both of these are a heterozygous cross. You have a dominant and recessive parent here. You have a dominant and a recessive parent here. So this will be dominant and recessive. This will be recessive, recessive. This will be dominant, dominant, and this will be dominant, recessive. Okay, so what are the possible genotypes? We have 3. We have dominant, dominant. We have dominant, recessive, and we have recessive, recessive. What are the possible phenotypes? Remember, if it has a dominant B, it is blue. We have one without. So we're going to have blue, and we're going to have purple. All right. What percent would be purple? Again, each of these boxes is 25%. So 25% is going to be purple. What percent would be blue? That would be 75%. What percent is going to be heterozygous? And that is 50%. All right, anytime you have a heterozygous cross, you're going to have a 1, that's homozygous dominant, a 2, that is heterozygous, and a homozygous recessive. So this is a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio here, because we have 1 dominant, we have 2 heterozygous, and we have 1 recessive. But the dominant trait would be a 3 to 1. Okay, let's see what else we have here. This one's going to be easy. All of these are going to be recessive because that's the only thing we have. Okay, our possible genotypes would be recessive B, recessive B. Our possible phenotypes, I'm just going to do purple because I'm going to try just do PUR because it takes me forever to write this out. What percent would be purple? That's going to be 100% because we have no dominance. What percent blue? 0. What percent heterozygous? 0, because we have all homozygous recessive. Okay, this one is different as well. This is going to be recessive, 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 dominant recessive, just because I always put the big one first. Dominant recessive. Okay. Our possible genotypes would be recessive, recessive, and heterozygous. Possible phenotypes would be blue, and then our purple. Okay. Our percentage purple would be 50. That really does not look like a 5. My hand's getting tired. Okay. What percent would be blue? 50, because we have 2 capital B's, or dominant B's. What percent would be heterozygous? That would be 50 as well. Okay. All right, and then our last one, dominant recessive. Dominant recessive. Dominant recessive and dominant recessive. All right, possible genotypes. There's only one, and that would be heterozygous, which is dominant and recessive. Phenotypes, they're going to be blue because each square has a capital B. What percentage are going to be purple? That would be 0. What percent are going to be blue? That's 100. And what percent are going to be heterozygous? That is going to be 100 as well. Okay. I hope this helps clear it up a little bit. We're going to do some more practice on this today. I may have you upload your work just so I can see how you're doing and if you're understanding. It will be a participation grade, effort grade, not a right or wrong grade, okay? So don't stress. Have a good day, and we will Zoom on Thursday morning. And if you have any questions, email me.